So this is the JBL Partybox 110. It's a refined version of the Partybox 100 with an even more impressive looking light feature. It sounds a little better. It's now water resistant, and you can even wirelessly pair it up to a Partybox 310 if you want. If you're looking for a portable box speaker either for your man cave or for when you're having get-togethers with your friends on the patio, the Partybox 110 is a solid pickup that won't disappoint. Regarding pricing, the 110 retails for $350, the same as the Partybox 100 when it first came out. Now, for comparison's sake, the super popular Boombox 2 retails for $500, and so does the 110's larger brother, the 310. Now, for this video, we're going to be mainly focusing on the 110 and 100, but if you want to see how these big boys stack up to one another, you can click or tap up here, or you can check out the description down below. Nonetheless, if you want to pick the Partybox 110 up, it'll be linked down below as well. Now first, let's talk about the design of the speaker. Now, just like all other party boxes, the 110 has a mostly plastic body and a metal grille on the front, so unfortunately, this speaker can be a scratch magnet. However, regarding toughness, the 110 is now rocking an IPX4 rating, meaning that it's water resistant, mainly because the ports on the back can now be sealed off. Whereas with the 100, its ports are fully exposed. So if this speaker were to get caught in a small drizzle, or if you accidentally leave it out overnight, a little bit of water isn't going to hurt it, just as long as you've got the ports sealed off. Now, regarding portability, the 110 has built-in carrying handles and weighs in at 23 pounds, so carrying the speaker around isn't too bad. However, I am going to have to say that I am a little disappointed that the 110 doesn't have built-in wheels like the 310. I just love that the 310 has built-in wheels because it just makes taking your speaker somewhere super easy, barely an inconvenience. And I was really looking forward to them on the 110, but it's whatever. However, I do want to point out that just like the 310, the 110 has a speaker stand mount if you need it. Now, regarding the new light feature on the 110, it's more impressive than the light feature found on both the 100 and 310. This light feature has been expanded a little bit, and now even the tweeters have their own lights. Now, besides just looking great, the main upgrade here is that you can now control and customize this light feature through JBL's Partybox app. But you can also still control this light feature from one of the dials up top. You can turn your light feature on or off, and you can cycle between the different lighting modes as well. But keep in mind, if you do decide to use this light feature, it is going to take its toll on the battery life. But now let's talk about tech specs. Regarding battery life, the Partybox 110 has an advertised battery life of 12 hours, just like the Partybox 100. But that advertised battery life of 12 hours on both of these speakers is with them playing at around 20% volume, with their light feature turned off and with bass boost turned off as well. And in general, 20% volume on both of these speakers is good for like ambiance. Now, both of these speakers have two bass boost levels to them. Now, personally, I think bass boost level 1 sounds best, but the important thing here is that if you do decide to use bass boost on this speaker, that's going to take its toll on the battery life as well. But real-world use with the 110 playing at 65% volume, which is more than loud enough if you're working out at home or if you've got a little get-together going, with the light feature turned on and with bass boost set to level 1, the 110 is good for about 8 hours of playback time. But keep in mind, battery life on this speaker really varies depending on how you use it. If you use it at a higher volume, that's going to drain your battery life. If you use the light feature, that's going to drain your battery life. And if you decide to use bass boost level 1 or bass boost level 2, that's going to drain your battery life as well. But now let's talk about ports. Now, the main thing here is that the 110 has two 1/4-inch inputs, and you can plug in a microphone into either one. So if you want to do karaoke, you can get two microphones going without any problems. The only thing to point out here is that if you want to mess around with the bass, the treble, or the echo, these settings are only going to apply to the input that's labeled with the microphone. Now, personally, I really wouldn't bother with these karaoke settings, but I just wanted to let you know. Now, while we've got the app open, I also want to point out that there are these DJ effects, and you can play them whenever you want. Personally, these really aren't things that I would mess around with, but they're there. Now, continuing on the topic of ports, the 110 has a USB-A port which you can either use to charge your own devices or you can play music off of a USB stick. Now, personally, I think it's great and all that the 110 has a USB-A port, but I still really wish that the speaker had a USB-C port so that you can either charge your own devices or use it as a wired connection, because most new phones these days now come included with USB-C cables. But if you want to, you can always still use a wired connection with this speaker because it still has an audio jack. But the really neat thing about the 110 is that it also has an audio out jack. So if you've got a spare speaker lying around, regardless of brand or size, you can always daisy chain it to the 110 and get them to play in sync, which I feel is a very nice touch. Now, regarding connectivity, the 110 is using Bluetooth 5.1, but the important thing here is that this speaker can be connected to two devices at the same time, so you and a friend can both be DJ. There's zero latency across the board when watching movies or videos on your phone, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android device. And when it comes to audio codecs, the 110 has support for both SBC and AAC. But now let's talk about sound. Regarding speaker setups, both the 110 and 100 have a pair of front-mounted firing woofers, a pair of front-mounted firing tweeters, and a bass exhaust port that shoots out the back. Really, the only difference here is that the tweeters on the 110 are center mounted, whereas the tweeters on the 100 are on top, which really isn't a big deal. Now, like with most other speakers that charge via an AC port, if you use the speaker while it's plugged in, you're going to get a performance bump out of it. It's going to get a little louder and it's going to have a little more bass. But now we're going to jump into the sound test. Both of these speakers are playing while unplugged and at 70% volume. But with the 110, we're going to have it playing with both bass boost turned off and with bass boost set to level 1 because I think level 1 sounds best.
Don't you think we're done? Don't you think we're done? Don't you think we're done? Knew that it was true from the way you looked at me. Don't know what to do, what to say to make you leave with me. Make me feel alive. Take my hand around, let me be the one. Let's just take the dive. Night's only begun, don't you think we're done? 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 Make me feel alive. Take my hand around, let me be the one. Let's just take the dive. Night's only begun. Don't you think we're done?
So at first glance, I wouldn't be surprised if your average listener said that the 110 and 100 sound identical. However, I do feel that the 110 has an ever so slightly warmer sound signature than the 100 because the highs aren't as accentuated as the highs on the 110. But then there's also the bass. The bass on the 110 is just a little cleaner, and overall, the 110 sounds just a little more open than the 100 in real life. But like I said, I feel that your average listener wouldn't be able to tell a difference. But overall, I do gotta say that the 110 sounds a little better than the 100. But this isn't a major sound quality improvement like what we saw going from the Partybox 300 to the Partybox 310. But in general, the Partybox 110 has your classic JBL sound signature of strong mids, so there is a slight emphasis on vocals and a lot of bass comes in when it has to. So this speaker is gonna have no problem shaking the walls in your house. And when it comes to max volume, off of its internal battery, the 110 gets more than loud enough. But like I mentioned earlier, if you were to use this speaker while it's plugged in, you are going to get a performance boost out of it. It's going to get a little louder and it's gonna have a little more bass. However, when it comes to comparing max volume between the 110 and 100, both of these speakers get identically loud. Now, even though I really like how the Partybox 110 sounds and I don't really think that it needs changing, I do gotta point out that JBL still doesn't allow you to directly adjust the EQ of their speakers. These bass, treble, and echo sliders only affect any mic you have plugged into the speaker, not your music. But now let's talk about pairing this speaker up with other speakers. You can wirelessly pair up one Partybox 110 either to one other Partybox 110 or to a larger Partybox 310. And this is a pretty big deal because before you couldn't mix and match speakers, but you can now. Now, if you've got a Partybox 110 and 310 paired up like I do, they'll play in sync. But if you want left and right stereo sound going, you're going to need two of the same speakers. But unfortunately, you cannot wirelessly pair up a Partybox 110 to an older Partybox 100 or Partybox 300. But at least the 110 does have that audio out jack that I mentioned earlier. So if you've got a spare audio cable lying around, you can always daisy chain them and get them to play in sync that way. And finally, I've also got to point out that you cannot wirelessly sync up a Partybox 110 to any of JBL's more portable Party Boost speakers. So if you've got a JBL Boombox 2, Extreme 3, Charge 5, Flip 5, or a JBL Pulse 4, they won't wirelessly sync up to the Partybox 110. And in general, I really wish JBL would just bring JBL Party Boost to their party boxes. But with all that being said, the JBL Partybox 110 is a solid portable Bluetooth box speaker that's going to have no problem delivering if you're looking for something to use in your man cave, home gym, bedroom, or if you're looking for something to entertain with on your patio. The 110 is relatively compact and has no problem delivering on sound, and it has a decent real-world battery life. Now, if you already got a Partybox 100, there's really no need to rush out and upgrade. But the 110 is noticeably more refined. Most obviously, the 110 has a new and improved light feature. But less obvious, the 110 is now water resistant because you can seal the ports off on the back. It sounds a touch better, and you can now wirelessly pair it up to a Partybox 310 instead of only being able to pair it up to one of the same models like its predecessor. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit that like button and get subscribed. It helps out more than you realize. If you want to pick any of the products up mentioned in this video, those will be linked in the description down below, and you can also support the channel by checking out the merch store. But other than that, I'll catch you next time.